All right, welcome to Old School, everybody. So we got a lot to cover on this program. Of course, Cenk, Uygur, Mark Thompson with you guys today, brought to you by shoptyt.com, where you can get these very stable Genius shirts. And boy, is that fitting, because we're going to talk about how insane Donald Trump is, pretty much literally. And then I've got new TYT Army shirts I'll show you later. But so I love these kind of hoodies.
Yeah.
And I got one at a YouTube event, and I was so psyched about it. And I didn't know we were doing them all of a sudden.
Oh, that's
TYT.
sweet. Very sweet.
How cool is that? I love this. So that's shop.
Well, there are a few things, and Cenk, you're not the fashion plate that I am.
No,
but there are a
that's
few
true.
things that stick out. I like how the cords pop. You'll notice that they're white, and it's set off against the light blue, and it just looks really hot.
Yeah, look, the guys, the folks at shoptyt.com might be thugs, but they're fashionable thugs.
They're thugging fashionably.
Okay.
By the way, the very stable Genius, as you know, is my very favorite thing. It's close. Like the hat. I like a lot. Actually, there's a lot of stuff on TYT, the shop, that I like. But anyway, I love the very stable Genius. I just want to make one quick point. I'm glad that he's brought that back. He kind of rebooted it. You know, he said it early on in his kind of run, and they didn't say it again. And I was wearing it, and I noticed it wasn't getting
as much pop as it used to.
And people, I thought, people think that I'm saying I'm a very stable Genius. It was kind of weird. I mean this. It was a problem.
Yeah.
Now he's brought it back. It's been given fresh life.
Yeah, I had a woman at Trader Joe's the other day. It wasn't this. We had the Resist the 45th shirt, and she just looked at me and said, "I like that shirt." Okay, she didn't know who I was at all. I was like, "I agree with you," and so do the thugs at shoptyt.com. So, why do I refer to them as thugs? Because they make me wear excellent clothes, okay? And slash, if you saw them, they're the least thuggish people on the planet, okay?
It's the irony.
Yes. Okay, so Trump's insane. There's a story about it from CNN, only to be outdone by a story from the Wall Street Journal right before we got on air here, recording Old School live on Wednesday night. Members get the show live, tyt.com/trial if you want to try it out. Okay, so and then I saw an interesting article about how China is threatening us, and that was kind of interesting.
That's about the mineral with
yeah. So I want to talk about that, and then I saw that mainstream media and folks in Washington have decided to counterattack against me because I have touched their beloved Nancy Pelosi.
Oh.
And so they don't quite, a lot of these folks, they don't know me at all, right? And so the first time they make contact with the progressive base, their heads are blown. They're like, what is this, right? They're like Charles Pierce, otherwise decent writer at Esquire, right? But he's like, this is crazy. How can you say this about Nancy Pelosi, right? And then then a whole bunch of people from Washington retweet. I'm like, who are these people? It's like, worked for Harry Reid for 6 years, Democratic strategist. Can't believe he's saying that about Nancy Pelosi. Doesn't he know that's outlawed in Washington, right? They didn't actually literally say these things. Okay, so if they saw this, they're like, that's not true. I didn't say that, and I didn't use that tone of voice. That guy's,
the tone of voice is implied.
Yes, that's right. By the way, I'm going to make the most random point about Robert Mueller. Okay, so today as he was doing his press conference, I thought, I get it. I get why he wants to hide, right? Because if someone is quiet, it makes them more powerful. It makes you wonder, what are they up to, right? And if they're behind the scenes, etc. Because the minute I heard Robert Mueller, I was like, I did not expect that voice. He looks like a dude made out of granite, and I thought he was going to have a voice.
No, you're right.
I thought maybe he'd have a voice like you, Mark.
Yeah,
right?
I could redub him.
Yeah, and he came. How are we not doing that?
I could have dubbed that whole statement that he did.
Yeah, and it would have come out much stronger.
Yeah.
Right. We do not find insufficient evidence on the issue of obstruction. Oh, God damn it, he did the obstruction, we gotta go, right? Whereas I was shocked at how, I don't know how to put it, and I'll put it in politely, I don't mean any harm by it, but dweebish his voice was, right? He's like, and then you know what we found? And I was like, What? Right? I was like, where's Robert Mueller? They have the real Robert Mueller in a bunker somewhere?
That's not quite fair. I mean,
Totally not fair.
He's not Wilbur Ross. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I take your point. He's also, you expected, as you say, this granite-faced, kind of this vision of authority that we've become accustomed to only hearing about and catching little, speculation about. We expected that voice to be self-assured, powerful, and he was almost a bit halting even as he read the statement.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, and I was just taken aback by it. I never realized what the man behind the green curtain sounded like.
Yeah.
And so,
of course, he lets most of the time, he lets his documents do the talking for him.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the documents sound strong in my head.
Exactly.
I dub it over with Mark Thompson's voice when I'm reading the Mueller report.
You read it with Mark Thompson's voice.
And Congress should act next. In other words, impeach the motherfucker. You can curse on old school, feels so good.
I know, I just realized that when you said that.
Yes, okay. And if you're saying, no, that got beeped, what are you talking about? Just become a member, uncensored. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying, okay? There's insufficient evidence that you should be a member of the Blaze, but there is sufficient evidence that you should be a member of the Young Turks. Okay, tyt.com/trial. All right, anyways,
So that happened.
So that happened. But in the words of FDR, referring to the Washington attacks against me, I like how I've made 3 people on Twitter Washington, okay?
It does sound like an uprising, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an uprising of the elites.
Yeah.
They have uprising. One said, I. The second one said, do. The third one said, declare. I do declare, they said in unison against Uygur, the Visigoth.
How dare you?
To question
How
Nancy
dare
Pelosi.
you, Uygur?
Yes.
Come after our political queen.
Yeah. Okay.
So they busted on you for being critical of Pelosi.
Yeah. So I had tweeted out that when I wrote an article in The Hill about how Nancy Pelosi is not a progressive, which the base rather enjoyed, right? Because they're progressives and they get it and it's logical. And then I retweeted it today. I had written it a couple of weeks ago saying, I want to thank Nancy Pelosi for proving me spectacularly correct by, since she's choosing not to impeach Donald Trump against all available evidence, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, and when you got Justin Amash to the left of you, you might not be a progressive. Okay. And so that's what they were all very bothered by. They're like, do you know who Justin Amash is? Because they always talk down to us. Because they think, oh, these progressives, they don't know anything. We play 3-dimensional chess in Washington. First, you have to surrender to the Republicans so that you could later surrender to them more. And at the end, when you finally capitulate, it'll be perfectly embarrassing. Oh, I didn't know you were playing that kind of 3-dimensional chess. Oh, Justin Amash is a super right winger otherwise? Oh, Charlie Pierce, I didn't know that. Color me surprised, what would I know? I'm just a barbarian at the gate, us unwashed masses, the progressive base. We don't know any of the sophisticated things you do in Washington. What is it that you speak of with this Amash character? Yeah, we know who Justin Amash is, you clown, okay? That's why it's an insult when you say Pelosi is to the right of Amash. Oh, by the way, also, fuck you.
Members, you got that. The F, you got it directly.
Okay.
Right. Tell me what the calculation is that is being done by Pelosi, because those who speak defending her, of which, as you know, there's no small number in Washington, right? And that's kind of what you've talked about. They say, no, you don't get it. It's potentially playing with political fire, if not political suicide to begin. Explain that what their argument is. And
yeah, their argument. So first, I'll do it this unsophisticated way, where the people in Washington said, "I knew it. I do declare. I've declared again." Okay, and that argument is full of horse crap. Okay, but let me break it down for you. So I'm gonna only spend a little bit of time on this because we did a little bit on the Young Turks today, and then I'll get to the absolute unbelievable insanity of Donald Trump. This story from the Wall Street Journal today, like just when I thought he can't get any more insane, he did it. He did it. Okay, so we'll get to that, but on Pelosi. So first of all, they have the thing of, okay, impeachment always leads to political, it's a strategy that always backfires politically, right? Now, why do they say that? Because the only impeachment of their, well, a lot of their lifetimes are pretty old, so they might have seen Nixon, but they always refer back to Clinton.
Sure.
But it's apples and oranges because Clinton was a popular president, Donald Trump's a very unpopular president. They try to impeach Bill Clinton over absolutely nothing. They started with whitewater and ended up with a blue dress, right? I should know I was a Republican back then, and I thought even then, and I loved making fun of Clinton, and I thought it was hilarious that he was cheating on his wife and he got caught, and I was a dick about it, okay? Right. But I thought, you're not gonna impeach that guy over that. That's crazy. They lost the whole country over it. They lost Republicans over it. Whereas at this point, not just Democrats, which is like I think 80% want him impeached, but most of the country's like, why aren't they impeaching him? Right. Like, what is wrong with you people? I mean, even Justin Amash is saying impeach. What is wrong with you, right? So, by the way, here's another watching the guy. Like, that's what I love about the Twitter app. Like, whenever a blue check person makes a comment, it sends you a notification.
Oh.
Okay. So then I'm keeping it real, and then I look to see who it is. And of course, look, it's a writer for, it's in the past has written for Salon, Wonket, Daily Beast, Alternate, McSweeney, IJR. That's weird. Okay, so that's conservative, I think the last one. So, but it's not the mainstream media. It's not just the Democratic officials in Washington who attack me. It's the mainstream media. They're like, how you can't say that about Pelosi? You're supposed to be journalists, heads. You're supposed to challenge government. You're supposed to hold them to account. But when anyone does, they circle the wagons. That's our beloved Pelosi. No one let him through. Don't let him through. Pelosi, we got you. Watchdogs, get the out of here. All right, so you see I'm in a fun mood. Okay, so back to Pelosi and the strategy that makes no sense. So they're in the wrong time period with the wrong political calculation, etc. And even so, back then, it's not like the Republicans got hurt by impeaching Clinton in the sense that they wound up picking up a lot more seats as they went on. It's not like, oh, that destroyed the Republican Party. What destroyed one of the two parties was the leadership of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, where we lost 1,000 seats in a decade. But the media can't see straight. So they still think that she calls herself a master legislator, but in that Hill piece, I went back and found dozens, I only quoted 3 or 4, but dozens of instances of the media saying, brilliant legislative tactician. For what? What did she ever accomplish? Anyway, it's too long to get into her whole crappy record of legislative non-accomplishments. I remember Bob Shrum almost got out of his seat at a Politicon event when I said that. How about the Affordable Care Act? Okay, it was Mitt Romney's plan in Massachusetts. It was the Heritage Foundation. She couldn't even put the public option in it, and they had a supermajority. Did you know that supermajority did not last long? Okay, you guys are children, right? You are always patronizing, and it's gross. Anyway, so their political calculation is off there. Then they say, oh, well, we're not gonna win in the Senate anyway. Well, how do you know if you never try? The Democrats never ever actually try fighting for their own position. So then they say, see, we lost. I know, because you didn't try. You know, can you imagine if great athletes work that way? Tom Brady's like, I mean, we're never gonna beat the Seahawks. Have you seen the Rams? We're not gonna beat the Rams. They got a great offense and a great defense. No, it's just, no, you guys take it, right? But in politics, again, the Democratic establishment protects their own. I get it, it's gross, but I get it. The media is what bugs me. The media then comes out and goes, no, Tom Brady's surrender before the Super Bowl, genius. You know, he is a football master tactician. And the way that he just spiked the ball every time, wow, I didn't see that coming. The way they punted on second down, genius. Okay, anyway, you get it. And so look, if you go to the Senate, so you could easily win in the House because the Democrats control the House. Although it's not that easy because the Democrats are such cowards. I mean, they might help the Republicans. Then you go to the Senate and you put them on the spot. So here, and at that point, what you've done is you've had probably months of testimony.
See, stop right there. That's why I think it's so very important.
Bingo.
You get it out into the daylight because no one's read the Mueller report. Now you're hearing more and more people say, well, I've been saying this for a long time. The Mueller report is one of those things that you're hearing spoon-fed pieces of the Mueller report. You're hearing it on Sean Hannity, if that's your bent. You're hearing it on TYT, if that's your bent. But nobody's really cracking it up because if you crack it open, it's pretty hard. There's even its redacted or mildly redacted form, however you want to call it.
So there's 11 clear instances of obstruction of justice. Today, Mueller comes out and says, yeah, if I thought that he didn't commit a crime, I tell you, for example, I don't think he did conspiracy, which is what we call collusion, right? He's like, on obstruction, on the other hand.
Right, he did everything but wink.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then most right of all is Elizabeth Warren, who says on principle, I don't care what you think the politics of it is, and they're dead wrong on the politics. But even if you were right, so if you say, because I care so much about my political career, that I'm going to help Donald Trump evade justice and then hurt our democracy by not enforcing the rule of law, well, then you've done great damage to this government and to this form of government, right? And so that to me, I'm already done with the conversation because that point is so persuasive and so obviously correct. You cannot set that precedent. And think about it not only in terms of what future presidents will do, but this president's bad enough. What if he, first of all, over the next year and a half, but what if he wins a re-election? Then he has carte blanche.
Right.
You just told him, the Justice Department, according to Mueller's interpretation, which now will not be questioned, cannot prosecute or even charge a sitting president. And Nancy Pelosi has indicated the Democrats will not impeach you under any circumstance. So you have a blank check to break any law you like.
And he'll go after it. And it's, I also think that this by the way, I said the same thing on the radio today. I was making the point that I don't think you have any choice if you're the Democrats. I mean,
even if you thought it was going to be disastrous for you, you don't have a choice.
You just have to go. I mean, it's a must launch on this. But I also feel as though there are a number of other things that could be folded into an impeachment proceeding. We keep focusing on the Mueller report, but the fact is there is corruption throughout this administration. There's pay to play, there's influence peddling. All these things can be done. You can subpoena once these Deutsche Bank records start to come forward.
100%. Well, exactly right, Mark. And I don't talk about that enough. And I didn't mention it on the Young Turks today. That's exactly, because once you open up that can of worms, I mean, Trump caught the break of a lifetime when Mueller did not investigate his business ties to the Russians.
Yeah.
And Mueller says in the Mueller report, look, part of the reason why why the obstruction might happen, he says it in legalese, right? But is because he might be obstructing things we did not investigate. To which I was screaming, why didn't you?
Right.
Like, why do you think he was going so out of his way to obstruct? Because he thought you were going to look into his business ties with the Russians. When you came out with a report saying I wrote 448 pages but didn't look into his business ties, he must have thought, God damn it, I knew it. I'm the luckiest son of a bitch alive. Right? I mean, that guy, 6 bankruptcies and he's still here, right?
When he leaned back in that chair in that sort of famous exchange and said, I'm f***ed, my presidency is over, I'm f***ed.
Yeah,
I mean, that was what he was worried about.
Of course, Mueller did him the biggest favor, almost as much of a favor as when his daddy left him $413 million. Okay, so, but if you start to actually do impeachment proceedings, and hence you must get these records, et cetera, the things that you will unveil will be amazing, and that's what's driving me crazy. And so when Nancy Pelosi says, I'm not going to fall into his trick of getting goaded into impeaching him. What on God's green earth are you talking about? There's no trick. Donald Trump has never thought beyond step one in his entire life. He's incapable of it. He's one of the dumbest guys in the country. So again, all of this, every single thing I've said triggers Washington. No, Hillary Clinton lost to him. He can't be that dumb. No, he had a lot of brilliant strategy. I don't know what you're talking about. No way, right? And then and they really have, like the minute an authority figure says it in Washington, 90% of the media immediately believes it. So they're like, oh, Pelosi playing 3-dimensional chess. Donald Trump wants to be impeached so that he can drink from the cup in front of you. No, there's no cup in front of you coming in front of me, okay? Of course he doesn't want to be impeached. Of course he doesn't. They get themselves twisted and pretzels to believe insane things that no one would believe if you didn't live in that power structure and that dynamic and that paradigm. All right, last thing on him, because we can go on forever, is that so they think that, well, that'll really animate his base. So you asked why, what are they thinking, right? I got news for you guys. They're already animated. So you know what happened in 2018? So it was, I think, the third largest victory in the history of the House in terms of swings of Congress, right? So it was already a landslide that Democrats did, but it actually could have been much greater because there was giant Democratic voter turnout. But surprisingly, there was also a very large Republican voter turnout. And so they're like, oh, they had all these elaborate theories. It was because this Kavanaugh, he got appointed. I mean, he made it onto the Supreme Court, but the fact that he was challenged, energized his base. No, guys, in 2016, 85 white evangelical voters turned out at an astounding, unbelievable, record-breaking 85% voter turnout. In American history, that is like almost unheard of. And 81% of them voted for Donald Trump. That's why he won the election. They're animated already. He's a guy who hates the same people as they hate. They've never been so lucky. They feel so good. They're like, yes, I'm validated. I don't like Latinos either. And I hate Muslims, right? And trans people in my bathroom. Are you nuts? And this monster is saying out loud the things I've been telling Bob, my neighbor, this whole time. I love this guy. So your actions against them aren't gonna be like, oh, they weren't gonna show up otherwise. They were just gonna lay down. The Trump people, they're not at all excited. Those MAGA guys with the red hats, they were gonna put him down. And you were gonna win the Republicans in the suburbs, the mythical Republicans in the suburbs, right? But now that you went to do impeachment, they're like, okay, now we're angry. They're called the deplorables. They were angry to begin with. Okay, why don't you go hold for it. This is an idea never considered by the Democratic Party in Washington. Why don't you get your own voters to show up? I mean, come on, man. The reality is they're so smug and condescending, but they actually don't know shit. And you know how, oh yeah, this big loudmouth online, what does he know? Here's the fact I know. You lost 1,000 seats. 1,000 in just 10 years. All across the country, local, state, national. You got your ass handed to you. When Obama left, when Trump won, they had already won 69 out of the 99 state legislatures. That is a stunning record of failure. But I'm the bad guy for pointing it out. They're not the bad guys for losing 1,000 seats. I'm the bad guy for saying it. Right? So you get it.
Yeah, so the losing strategy of those, the losing strategy that yielded those losses one after another, scores of losses. What was that losing strategy? Focusing on that was a bigger issue.
So we can get into 100 nuances, but I'll summarize it in this. And then I really do want to get to the insane story before we run out of time for the YouTube guys, because third is for YouTube. Public to everybody. First hour is podcast, free for everybody. Okay, and then the whole hour and a half is just for members. tyt.com/trial. Okay. By the way, they'll also look down their nose at us for that. Like, oh, please, they want people to subscribe. What the do you think the New York Times does?
Right.
They're like, subscribe.
That's right. But this is the last of your free articles.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
But when the New York Times does it, it's sophisticated.
I see. Yes, it's the way they ask.
Yes, that's right. Anyway, so the core of the problem of why they lost 1,000 seats is because they never made their own case. So Trump, as ignorant and ridiculous as he is, the one thing he does right is he runs towards the spotlight and then shouts. He shouts his case over and over and over again. As George W. Bush said, you got to, one thing you got to do is you got to repeat things to catapult the propaganda, right? And if anyone can catapult the propaganda, it's Donald J. Trump, right? If anyone can bury a message that is actually super helpful to their own cause, it's the Democratic Party. So, and look here, Obama has at least as much fault as Pelosi and Schumer does. So during the campaigns, Obama was a lion. I mean, he buried Mitt Romney. Some of those ads were some of the toughest ads I've ever seen. A wonderful job, crushed him, right? And I was really impressed. But when he's president, first term and second term, goes right back to a lamb. Whispers, doesn't want to make his own case. I mean, and then oftentimes would make the Republican case. Say, well, look, we need to compromise because the Republicans, blah, 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 blah. No. The Republicans, they make their case plenty fine. You don't have to make it for them, right? Now, your job is to, I know, wait for it, hold, this is gonna shock Washington. Get ready to tweet. You're supposed to beat the Republicans. You're the opposing party. They're like, no, bipartisanship, this guy's I knew it. No, I'm supposed to kiss their ass and do bipartisanship. I'm supposed to go to Mitch McConnell and hug it out and do a beer summit with him. Like, oh, Mitch, how you doing, big guy? How you doing? Did you get the beer yet? Like, he's right here. Okay, like you Joe Biden him, right? Like, oh my God, are you convinced yet? I mean, you want to vote for me? No, you don't? Okay, forget it. It's okay. I love you, brother. I love you. No, that strategy failed because they make their case, we don't make our case, and guess what? They win. It's not that complicated. Like Joe Donnelly is a perfect example. And look, why do I do the predictions? Yeah, they're fun, but it's to show you I'm not making it up, right? You can track it on your own. So I said Donnelly would get clobbered, and they're like, and McCaskill would get clobbered, and they're like, no, those are close. You don't know that. No, we might pick those seats up. It's not close. Because if you run as a light Republican, Donnelly was like, did all those commercials like, oh yeah, the Republican Party's right on guns and the Bible and just about everything else. So vote for me, I'm a Democrat. What? Like he almost had the what in his ads. Okay. And he lost worse than the polling indicated. He got slaughtered because if you make ads for your opponent, I got news for you. It's very likely your opponent's gonna win. Okay. So anyways, all right, now let's go to the crazy news from today. So Jim Acosta has this thing where he talked to a senior and a former White House and national security official. Okay, well there's two things. One was the national security official that told him that he was worried that Trump was compromised by the Russians. Okay, now I'm a little, Acosta's a good reporter, but I'm a little annoyed that he held it for his book, right? So I'm just gonna throw that out there, okay? Especially the second one. And the second one is a current, apparently, senior White House official and said, apparently admitted to Acosta, quote, the president is insane. But we've gotten so used to it, you're not supposed to fight back, So now we're like, oh, the president's insane. Well, let's move on, right? Okay. Tally ho, or whatever they say, right?
Wow.
The president is, that's a senior White House official. He is insane. I had this daydream just before the show because of the Chinese story, which we're gonna get to later, that they were gonna ask, like when the market crashes, because China is threatening massive retaliation, okay? That they're gonna pull, like, the business guys are gonna call Larry Kudlow, because they're used to dealing with Kudlow. They know Kudlow from when he was on CNBC, and they know that he's a massive right winger, but he's not crazy, right? He believes in the old conservative principles, which is make the rich richer. Okay, just standard Republican stuff.
Right.
But super pro business, and this is not helping business. So this is my daydream. Kudlow gets a call from them, and he's like, they're like, what, Larry? What is going on? I mean, the market's crashing. We're all screwed. What's the plan? And that Kudlow just breaks and goes, guys, there is no plan. The president's insane, right? And like I almost saw it happening, and this is all like, I get it that it's in my imagination, but sometimes my imagination turns out to be right. Okay, when he had everybody do the testimonials for him.
Let me tell you how much I love being here and so grateful to you.
No, close. When he said, now tell everybody how calm I was when I was with Pelosi.
Oh, that was unreal. Yeah,
and they were all at the press conference, and they all had to step up and say, yes, sir, you were very calm, sir. Very rational as always. I want to die, right? and so they all did that, and some of them did enthusiastically as always, like Kellyanne Conway, like, oh my God, I thought you were the calmest person in the room. I thought the rest were hysterical. It was amazing how calm you were. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is like, you know who's not calm? Oh, you motherfuckers, right? But Kudlow, he pulled Kudlow up. He was sitting. He wasn't even supposed to be part of the press conference. He's like, Larry, you come up here, you. Well, by the way, my favorite out of that whole press conference was Hogan Gidley, who he said, I tell everybody how calm I was. And Hogan's like, he's a junior to Sarah Huckabee Sanders in communications at the White House. And Hogan's like, oh, wonderfully calm, sir. Terrific work, sir. Turns out he wasn't in the room. Doesn't matter.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't see that part. I only saw the excerpted part. That's great.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that he wasn't in the room. The others are lying anyway. Of course he wasn't calm. But as long as you're lying, what is the in for the thing, in for the other thing?
Sure, right. In for a penny, in for a pound.
That's right. In for a penny, in for a pound. So, yes, sir. I remember being there crystal clear. You were amazingly calm. Anyway, he pulls Kudlow out of his chair, and Kudlow comes, and he looks defeated. He's like, yes, sir. You were very calm, sir. And then goes back. And I was like, that's one to grow on.
Yeah.
There's a little something there.
Yeah.
The last time I sensed something like that, I said Keith Abloh has a woman tied up in his basement. And it turned out he did. Okay. So that was, to be fair, Keith Abloh does have a lot of accomplishments. He was on Fox News' medical A team. Okay, no B team for him. Okay, so anyways, all right, so, but YouTube guys, I'm sorry, brother, I'm not trying to tease you, but the Wall Street Journal story about the USS John McCain is what's coming up next. It's gonna take a little while to tell, otherwise I'd squeeze it in. But come on, hey, watch the free podcast or listen to the free podcast, or you'll get it. So go to tyt.com, you'll see the podcast for old school, it's free, okay? Like what you see? Of course you did, it was old school. So click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.